Anybody have any questions or comments on what I just brought up?
Well, let's see here. All right, I got one. I was reading an article the other day about CST, Church of Spiritual Technology.
Yeah.
And how it's held by 3 lawyers appointed for life by the assistant director of the IRS. And it has no members. And only members are allowed to even inquire into who are the directors of that corporation. So there's no members to inquire. So they're just kind of sitting there, and they hold all the copyrights to everything Scientology. And it seems like at a moment's notice they could pull RTC's right to use Scientology away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure David Miscavige knows this, and that puts him in a position of having to comply with intentions above him. You know, I could very well see other organizations above Miscavige kind of coercing him into doing what they want done with Scientology. And certainly, I know there's organizations in the United States that probably don't like the idea of OTs running around.
Right.
Okay? So, it's giving me a slightly different viewpoint on David Miscavige. He might just be another jerk in the middle.
He could be a pawn. There's a lot of speculation on that relationship and how much power and so forth. It's really speculation, and we don't know. So,
I sure don't know.
No.
But I just thought that was fascinating, is how we might very well be, or corporate Scientology might very well be the first federally owned church in history.
Yeah.
That's just fascinating.
Well, hopefully that story comes out sooner or later. But the materials are out. They're in so many different servers and computers around the world that, whatever happens, they want to own that corporate entity. There you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop us from, auditing one-on-one and doing whatever we want to do with the subject. So,
don't you think it's amazing that it's so hard to find out what happened? We can't find out what happened in Syria 2 weeks ago, right? It's taken 2 weeks to figure out if somebody gassed somebody and who did it. And we're trying to untangle what happened with David Miscavige in 1982.
right.
When people want shit hidden, it gets hidden.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the modus operandi of the C organization from day one. And that was LRH's modus operandi. And in a lot of cases, he had good reason to keep things, play his cards very close to his chest, But that's been perverted and taken to the most ridiculous extremes under the Miscavige reign. But the secrecy component just has got to go. We need an organization that's got more transparency. Now, every corporation has its corporate, they don't let the public into their boardroom when they're discussing their strategies. So there is a legitimate reason to have, certain private information about your church or your organization or whatever, but they've taken it to such a ridiculous extreme, and their secrets of the Church of Scientology are criminal. So once you cross that line into criminal enterprise, then it should be under the the RICO Act. That's the way they got the mob busted up, is under the racketeering and corruption, whatever that stands for, RICO. Anyway, anybody else?
I have one on that sort of note. You say you don't see the Sea Org continuing on. Who will handle the higher level training and auditing and the management of the organization? I can see there needing to be some sort of independent board of directors that has to be reported to, that like other nonprofits, board members roll off after a certain amount of time, have to go on to advisory council, get voted on, like complying to what other nonprofit organizations and churches and things do. But who would be that higher level of, like, not just your local organizations, but sort of...
Mm-hmm. Well, you would have a lot of Sea Org members may want to stay on. They're dedicated staff members. They have a high purpose, and if the organization is converted to a really on-purpose thing, then they could be given the option to stay on as staff, and paid a decent amount and allowed to secularize, have cell phones, watch TV, go out to a movie or whatever, so.
Have some salary?
Yeah,
Have a life?
there's a lot of changes that are, it's going to be tumultuous because there's a lot of policy that has to go. Right now you've got basically 40 to 50% of any money that comes into this local org or any local org gets siphoned off immediately before anything happens and sent off to management. Well, that doesn't work because then, the staff pay comes out of that other 50% after the building's, rent and toilet paper have been purchased. So that doesn't work. You've got to get that exchange in with people to pay them, if not, huge salaries, at least like minimum wage. If you're going to have somebody spending 12, 14 hours in your course room supervising, you got to give them some dough and, something he can financial plan against. So those are the kind of things, though, that they're going to have to figure out. They're going to have to say, okay, this is LRH, but it doesn't work. It didn't work, just like the Sea Org. L. Ron Hubbard created the Sea Org. So I'm speaking blasphemy. If you're a church person, you can't accept the idea that anything he wrote could possibly be wrong. Well, the fact is, he also said many, many times that, if it doesn't work, don't use it, or, it's only as good as it is workable.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the Sea Org didn't work. Let's be blunt,
Well, what would work
failed.
with an SP in charge?
Even without. In this day and age, I don't see it working, and the fact that it allowed for that, that's my opinion. Now, it may survive and it may carry on as the management body of the church, but like I said, people are going to get the real deal. And are you going to walk into an org and a Sea Org member tells you something and you're going to say, why would you listen to that organization anymore? They have lost all moral and legitimacy, legitimacy to manage, as far as I'm concerned. Now,
Well, then
if
are you
other
going to
people,
listen to somebody who used to be a Sea Org member any more than if they're in uniform or not?
I have problems with a lot of these guys that came out and now they're blowing the whistle. Everything they say is, like I said, is colored by that experience. A lot of them, and I don't know if you want to put this out there, but Marty Rathbun, let's just take him for example. He spent 27 years helping David Miscavige destroy Scientology. Okay, he just put out an affidavit saying, basically, he didn't tell what he did, but he was saying he was always following orders. Miscavige told me to do this. But basically, they're destroying Scientology for many years. He was there helping. Then he comes out and he blows the whistle. Now all of a sudden, he's a hero? No, not in my book. I don't wish him ill. He can go live his life, do whatever. But, would I want him in any kind of a management role of the church if I were choosing? No, absolutely not. And a lot of these guys, they so compromise their integrity. They so were overwhelmed. They so, corrupted by Miscavige. A lot of them are at the top were actual sociopaths too. It's not just one guy. I say when he goes, the thing tumbles because the other sociopaths up there won't have the horsepower to keep it all together. There's nobody that's going to be the strong man to step in and hold it all together. But there's other sociopaths who are attracted to this. They love that power. They love to be able to send people to the RPF. They love to be able to give orders and squash people and threaten them and put them in lower conditions. You got to look through it through sociopaths' glasses to kind of duplicate what really happened there. It's not one guy, I don't like to throw out the Hitler analogy, really, per se, but if you that's the most gross analogy. But, he had a lot of help. And people were attracted to that power, whether it was over the Luftwaffe or the SS or whatever, their little kingdom became their power base, and so now they're out, they've come to their senses, but it's still an experience that colors their perception of what's right and wrong, and do I want to trust them to, make the right decisions for the future of the subject. You know, they didn't make the right decisions once. Are we going to trust that they're going to make it again? I mean, I'm just saying. My future in Scientology has nothing to do with that, really. You know, I'm over here. I've got a website. I'm promoting Auditors. I'm getting out the story about the history of Scientology. You know, I'm disseminating the real subject. So they can do whatever they want in one regard, but if I'm asked my opinion, I have, you know, strong opinions too, just like anybody else. But anyway.
So you don't feel that the Sea Org is needed at all?
No, absolutely not. You know, I mean, it's like it was a good idea. When you understand the history, LRH had to get mobile, and the best place to be mobile is on the ocean. It's you know, hard to pin somebody down and catch them there, basically. Now, he was being chased for no good reason. What did he do? He wrote some books on people, how they can help themselves.
I thought it was for political reasons.
Well, yeah, but they, you know, they were stacking up against him. They had, you know, Interpol, IRS, FBI, CIA, all the governments, Australia, you know, they were trying to figure out a way to stop this guy. Like you said, you know, they didn't want to see OTs made. So he took to the seas to avoid being, you know, cornered. Well, that was a legitimate activity. You know, he needed to get a bunch of people, and you could scrape those hulls, clean them up, and get them shipworthy and sail them from one point on the ocean to another. You know, so that was an amazing accomplishment, really, if you try to think of it. We have a hard time getting, you know, getting a group together on a Sunday, you know. I mean, he got ships manned, and they had like 8 or 9 ships in the Sea Org at one point.
Wow.
You can see the history of the ships of the Sea Org at Scientolopedia. But anyway, so that was an amazing accomplishment, and he got these people that had no, you know, sailing experience, no sea work, you know, sea experience, and he got that fleet, and you know, as far as I know, there's no real deaths. I mean, there was some, you know, probably accidents and scraped knuckles, but you know, so that aspect of the Sea Org at that period of time was good, but where it got off was he started sending these Sea Org missionaries out to orgs and managing the orgs. And then, like I did in the last talk, you know, you had the Guardian's office, which is a counterbalance to the Sea Org's power, but once the Guardian office was wiped out, then the Sea Org took over everything. So, you know, it went off the rails. It got away from them, basically. Good idea at the time, but...
Different subject question. What about OT8? Would that still need to be delivered off the paths of the world?
Well, to my knowledge, the actual OT8 that they're delivering on the ship, and whether or not that's 100% LRH, we don't know, but that is not available in the field. That has not made it out to the field. So, that's an open question, what will happen with that.
Is there a reason that it's only delivered on the ship? Like, is there, other than just getting people to sign up and pay a ton of money to spend time on the ship, is there a reason
No,
that...
not really.
Okay.
It's the same way with knots and solo knots. You know, they send everybody, you have to go to flag in order to do it, supposedly. There's no reason in God's green earth why people have to go to flag to get onto solo knots, except that it funnels all that, the highest income earners of parishioners, into one location. And upper management, that's where they get all their money, is from flag. That's what really funds upper management. And they do rake off from the outer orgs, but that kind of pays for, you know, other logistic stuff. Anyway.
Well, the Sea Org orgs, of course, make the most money. They're all the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
And they deliver the highest levels, so they're more expensive.
But that whole model,
Other
you
than,
know,
like,
it's going to
Celebrity
change.
Center.
Yeah.
I mean, they do deliver the higher levels to the actual highest celebrities that come there, but other than that, they deliver the same services as CC Nashville. They're just very, very large.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Get something else. Oh, Kitty had something.
Yes, superpower.
Mm-hmm.
When, where, how?
Well, I don't think all the rundowns are available in the field. There's information about what the rundowns are, but I'm not sure that all of them are available in the field. At some point, they'll make their way out. We know that there's, like we talked about, the ethics repair list. It's the first step on the rundown. That's in the field, and a few of the other ones are. But that's going to be a matter of getting a big enough, group in your local area, and maybe, it's like the L's. There's only a few people in the world that outside of the church that can deliver the L's. So.
So you're saying we don't get superpower until we're St. Hillside?
Yes, you have to meet your quota, get your stats up. So, don't know, but, all of those things will make their way out. It's pretty much inevitable. But there's a lot to do, a lot of benefit. I mean, even just, all the lower bridge. I mean, if that was being delivered in high volume, I mean, those grades are unbelievably powerful.
Yeah.
And, then you've got the OT levels. We've got the original OT levels, and we've got knots. Now, that's going to keep you busy for some time, let me tell you. Look at, thinking in terms of years, once you get to the point to get on those. So, by then, get back to me and I'll have the rest figured out for you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's all I know.
It's possible.
Very good.